Hey everyone, Beardo again, continuing with this week's Wednesday haul. We have so far looked at Trio, Action Comics, and Minutemen. So if you didn't see that review, you missed a video. Go back, check it out, and swing back over here for the second part of the review, which is going to kick off with some of the greener pastures of what I picked up this week. And we will kick it off with The Spider #2 from Dynamite. And The Spider and The Shadow, both from Dynamite, both just starting new series. Very, very great 1-2 punch from Dynamite. I'm really enjoying these books. I do like my sort of superheroes with ties rather than with cape characters, so to speak, and Dynamite's really delivering with these two books. You got The Shadow, which takes place in the 1940s, has a very pulp fiction-y kind of feel to it, and then you've got The Spider, which takes place in contemporary times, but brings that pulp sensibility to it. So at the end of issue 1, we saw an unknown villain who has strapped an explosive collar around someone's neck and has detonated it. And they're making demands. And we get to see what their demands are, and we get to see who these villains are. And it was kind of an interesting twist. They end up being sort of this Egyptian motif, which, again, really played into the pulp fiction aspect of what they're going for with this book very, very nicely. And the only knock I have on the story for this is the bad guys do have like a gas that turns people into sort of zombie drones, and the Spider has to sort of make a point of, well, I don't want to kill these people because they're not really evil, they're just under this mind control, and that whole sort of idea kind of bogged the book down a little bit because it was a little cliche, pretty trite, and all in all just kind of took some of the fun out of it. However, overall this was a really good book. I do have to really applaud the art by Colton Worley. There are some phenomenal layouts in this book. For those of you guys out there reading Batwoman, because you like the layouts, this book definitely is a worthy contender for the Batwoman layout awesomeness title, as it were. So you do get a lot of the sort of spider web motifs going throughout the layouts. However, you also get, like the broken glass, and it's just overall really beautiful to look at. So again, if you're not picking this up, give it a shot. You might find yourself enjoying it. And here we get, these are those sort of Egyptian-themed villains. Very, very cool. Very, very pulp. As the Spider says, "Hello, freaks." And again, with sort of the cool panels, kind of the layering of the characters. Let me see if I can get you guys a good look at that. This is, as you can tell, I mean, this book is just black on black. Very, very dark. Very, very dark color palette, but beautiful stuff. So definitely recommend The Spider to you guys. And I'm sorry, because I think the last time Spider was fairly low on my overall pull list. I think it was second to last, because there's just a lot of really great books coming out right now, and especially with week 1, you got the 1-2 punch of Animal Man and Swamp Thing. So Spider never ends up, at the top of my list, but it really does deserve it because it's a great book. So check it out. Alright, next up we have DC's other controversial book, and that is Earth 2. This is, of course, controversial because Alan Scott, in this book, comes out as gay. And to all of you YouTubers out there, I say, who cares? I know it's created a lot of controversy. I'm sure there are people who say it's corrupting our youth. I'm sure there are people who are saying, you're ruining this character. It's not the character I used to know if he's gay. I'm sure people are saying a lot of things. I don't care one way or the other. The only thing that I can say that annoys me about the decision is that it just clearly seems like an editorial choice for DC to try and sell a few extra comics, and isn't necessarily, an artistically inspired idea. But that said, once an editor has made that kind of a decision, it really falls on the part of the writer, in this case James Robinson, to pull it off and make it his own and really run with it. So editorial decision or not, it is what it is. I could care less one way or the other. Overall, I really did enjoy this book. You get a lot of world building going on here. We get the fallout of sort of what the world has become like now that Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are no longer on Earth 2 because they have died in the last issue. And there is an impending doom, and someone is going to have to stop it. And we start assembling the new team with the Flash, as you can see on the cover. We also get an appearance from Hawkgirl, which was very exciting indeed. And we also get, at the very beginning, the return of Mr. Terrific to Earth 2. He basically, at the end of issue 8, apparently, of the Mr. Terrific series, he gets booted to Earth 2 so he can join this team. Didn't like the Mr. Terrific series, haven't read anything past the first issue, so don't know how that went, but I do like the character, so I'm glad he's going to be here with us on Earth 2. And then, of course, at the last section, we begin what will most likely become the origin of Alan Scott as Green Lantern. We don't get any hint that he's going to be Green Lantern, but he does end up in sort of a situation that could use a little superheroic help. So we'll see where that leads in issue 3. Most of the stuff with Alan Scott is totally around his being gay. And one thing I will say is, you know, this, again, it comes down to whether this is an inspired idea or not, and frankly, it's just not. All the stuff with Alan Scott and his being gay, I mean, every panel is filled with him and his boyfriend and how they're so in love and the world is so perfect for them together and they don't have any problems of any kind. And it just makes for a really bland, boring relationship. It's one of those cases where it's like, since they're trying to advocate for gay rights, they forget the fact that gay relationships have all the same problems that heterosexual relationships have. One of the things I really like about Batwoman is she is a very strong gay character, and the reason why she's a strong gay character is because her character has flaws, and her relationships have problems, and they're not just, you know, we're so in love and let's bat eyes at each other, you know, that kind of thing. This relationship that Alan Scott has with his boyfriend in this reminded me of the Star Wars prequel trilogy with Anakin and Padme. It's just that same kind of like, oh, well, I'll go home soon so I can make up the baby's room. Oh, I love you so much. Oh, I love you too. Isn't life perfect? Yeah, life sure is grand. You know, that whole thing. And it was just, you know, it was just too much. I didn't buy it. So, of course, they introduced some peril at the end of the issue for Alan Scott, and I'm sure his relationship with his boyfriend is going to be very short-lived. So there'll be repercussions, and his character will develop after that. But as far as this issue, him being gay was really just an excuse to have some really cheesy love dialogue. And that was about it. Otherwise, though, this was a great issue. It would have probably been my pick of the week if it wasn't for some of the cheesy writing at the end. So, I've got 2 books left for you. And you know what comes out this week. They come out the first week of every month, and they're always towards the top, and this is no exception. So it's really just a question of which of these 2 titles will be top dog. And this week, not quite top dog, but still a great book, was Animal Man number 10. Now, again, it's nice having a regular artist on this book. It's really helped solidify the direction the book is headed. Steve Pugh is not my favorite artist. I obviously would prefer Travel Foreman. I actually prefer, I think it was Timothy Green II that did the annual that came out a week ago. I actually prefer his art over Steve Pugh's, but nevertheless, Steve Pugh is an acceptable artist on this book. He gets the style, and he creates a cohesiveness by doing all of the art rather than filling in a page here and a page there in between Travel Foreman filling in a page there and a page over another where. So all in all, the art on this is really solid, and I was happy with that. Story-wise, things are definitely starting to heat up. We have the evil Buddy Baker begin to make his move. We get regular good Buddy Baker deep in the red, deep in that sort of pit of story that he just keeps going deeper and deeper into. However, the end is in sight. There is going to be a way to get good Buddy Baker back and on Earth again, and it's a very exciting moment at the end when we sort of find out how that's going to happen, and I'm excited to see what's going to come in issue 11. This is going to be very, very exciting. We also get some time with the family, the mother and the kids, and their whole journey without Buddy Baker. And of course, at the end of the last issue, we had, I think it was the last issue, we had John Constantine show up and sort of throw in his 2 cents. So here we get a special appearance from Justice League Dark. Kind of surprised that isn't on the cover anywhere, but they do show up in this for a good chunk of the book. It felt a little forced. It was one of those, not that they're not appropriate for this book, and not that they didn't fulfill, a particular, expositional purpose in the story, but nevertheless, for some reason, they just felt a little out of place to me, and I'm not quite sure why. However, that said, they do impart some important information and sort of, get the pawns where they need to be for this final clash before we get into the big one, which will be Rot World, which I know basically kicks off with issue 12, is my understanding. The reason why this wasn't top dog this month was because we do get some redundant information from the annual. It's one of those, when I was reading the annual and I said it in my review, it seemed like some of this stuff was going to be kind of redundant. Some of it already was redundant. And if you didn't pick up the annual, you really didn't miss anything, because all the new stuff that they explain in the annual is really explained in a very satisfactory way in Animal Man issue 10. So that was a little bit of a downer. Nevertheless, the annual was a great book. This was a great book. I just wish that they wouldn't keep sort of retreading territory. I think this arc was probably a 7-issue arc, but because it has to line up with Swamp Thing, it's going to run the 10 to 12 issues. So, other than that, though, always a great book, always a pickup, can't recommend it enough. However, there can be only one, and this one, this week, this month, has got to be Swamp Thing. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice here. So we have a filler artist, but the filler artist is none other than Francesco Francavilla, who is someone I absolutely love, and they have fantastic art in this. I really, really like Yannick Paquette on this book. I haven't liked Yannick Paquette on other stuff, particularly like Batman Incorporated, but Yannick Paquette's art in this just fits it to a T. But nevertheless, having Francisco Francavilla pop in here and do an issue for us was really a treat. And the best part about it is the editorial staff over at DC really let him do his own thing. There's no attempt to make it look like Yannick Paquette with sort of the crazy layouts and all that stuff. It's very Francisco Francavilla doing it in their own style and doing it to a T. So, great job on the art. Story-wise, as promised, we get the return of Anton Arcane. That was very, very bloody, as it says on the cover. Very exciting. The way this story is told, Scott Snyder did a fantastic job really, really building up the suspense. We start off with Anton Arcane beating the crap out of something and just bludgeoning it to death, blood everywhere, and Anton telling whoever it is, what it's gonna do to Abigail. So he's beating up the Swamp Thing, but you don't really see it. And then we get some interesting stuff into Abigail's past when she's a toddler. Really, really creepy reveal with a fly and what that fly is buzzing around. I won't spoil it. You'll know what I mean when you read it, so go check it out. And then we sort of get jumped back. The stuff with Anton is sort of in the future, and then we get sort of the build up to that moment at the end of the book. And it's very, very satisfying, very creepy, very scary, and very intense. Really looking forward to issue 11. Scott Snyder, as always, phenomenal job. So that pretty much wraps up what I picked up. So this week, finished with a high note with Swamp Thing. That was actually the first book I read, so the best book kind of taken out of the way right away. Then I followed it up with Animal Man, which wasn't quite as good, and then I think I read Minutemen last, which is why, again, I was a little bit frustrated, because you know, all the sort of negativity came out at the end because I sort of got the best book out of the way first. But all in all, great week. For some of them and for others, could have been better, but we'll look forward to next month nevertheless. So, picked up Swamp Thing, Animal Man, Earth 2, The Spider #2. Never makes it to the top of my list, but check it out. Minutemen, Action Comics, and finally Trio. So there you have it. That's my picks this week. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed the last one. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.